Max Olson, ESPN, with us on 365 Sports. And Max, thanks for your time. Do you sleep during transfer portal season, or is that ever over anyway? I mean, my goodness, is it more and busier now than ever before, or what?
I would have loved to lock in a nap from 4 to 4:30 today, but here I am.
Oh, yeah, we interrupted that. Damn.
I'll try to bring the energy. No, it's been a crazy month. Yeah, it's been a lot to keep up with. I think that probably more guys will commit while we're talking.
What do you think of John Mateer to Oklahoma? It appeared he really didn't want to go anywhere else because he's in the portal. He followed Ben Arbuckle. It seemed like a decision he made a little bit ago.
Yeah, I think that John Mateer at Oklahoma was probably the worst kept secret over the past month or so. I mean, certainly once Brent Venables officially hired Ben Arbuckle, it seemed like that was going to be the move for Oklahoma. I do think he's not, and that's not a knock. I do think he's a kid who's extremely loyal and extremely grateful for his time at Washington State. I mean, you got to remember he was a kid at Little Elm who was going to go to Central Arkansas when Eric Morris came in and gave him an offer in January and flipped him to Washington State. So, he certainly has not gone through this kind of recruiting process before. Miami certainly tried to make a push. There are several other schools that really like John Mateer. When I did a preview of the quarterback market about a month ago, I've just kind of the names to know. He was at the top of the list for me, not just because personnel people were all kind of buzzing about, he's going to be on the market, but they just love what he brings to the table. He's a true dual threat guy, really, one of the best in the country this year at running the ball. And, I think he's a very exciting guy for Brent Venables to build around. Oklahoma's going to have to do a lot of work in the portal to fix the offense, and obviously lost a lot of key receivers. But that's a very exciting piece to build around, and a 29-year-old offensive coordinator who they're really betting on to change their fortune.
So, Max, of the quarterback dominoes that have fallen here recently, one that kind of had us scratching our heads was Malik Murphy to Oregon State, and certainly, Lord knows, the Pac-2 deserves some good news. I mean, you're just talking about Wazoo losing, Arbuckle and Mateer and all of that, but was this kind of surprising? Was there a connection there that I'm missing? Your thoughts on Malik Murphy to the Beavers?
Yeah, I think that when Malik Murphy announced he was going to enter the transfer portal, I think there was a lot of confusion around it because Duke went 9-3 this year in their first year with Murphy and with Manny Diaz, and really exceeded expectations for a team that was picked to finish 11th in the ACC. But Duke was, he went in the portal because Duke was recruiting Darian Mensah and trying to get Darian Mensah from Tulane, and so. Even though they went 9-3, they kind of recruited over their starting quarterback, which you don't really see a ton, but it has happened the last few years. And so Malik Murphy goes in the portal. He visits Auburn, but they certainly Jackson Arnold was the priority for Auburn. He visited Kentucky, but they ended up taking Zach Calzada from UIW. And so now he's going to Oregon State, which is a school he considered a year ago when he was in the portal out of Texas. And certainly a very clear starting opportunity there, but you see some of those moves, and gosh, I remember thinking a year ago, I wonder if Malik Murphy's just going to go to Duke for a year and then kind of go back on the market, and he's doing that now. And I think it's a good addition for Oregon State. But I think when he went in the portal, yeah, you kind of expected that it would be for a Power 4 opportunity.
Well, Duke got the quarterback from Tulane, but it wasn't. I don't think he was forced out. Did he make the wrong decision? It's his decision. It's his career, but. Did he maybe overestimate the market?
Yeah, I don't really think he had a choice. I think that he kind of got pushed out there because they went and recruited somebody else. Yeah, no, I don't think that he made a gamble. Duke was actively recruiting Darian Mensah when Malik Murphy was still on the team. So, I think that's a situation where I think Duke wanted to go out and get an upgrade and felt like they've got a lot coming back in 2025, and so they wanted to kind of shove all in and. Go get better at that position. And so Malik Murphy goes in the portal, and yeah, probably expected him to have better options than he did. But there's also a ton of passers out there. I think there's more than 130 FBS scholarship quarterbacks. So, it is kind of an interesting game of musical chairs, and you gotta find a spot and grab it pretty quickly.
Is Oregon State the best he could have done there, or is that just his the spot he wanted to be. I think that's the thing I wrestled with a little bit with him because he was 9-3 in the ACC.
Yeah, and certainly, and they took SMU to overtime too, so it could have been a 10-win season. They still have a chance to win their bowl game and stuff. I think it's one where you get to this part too, and like there's still some quarterbacks out there who have starting experience and who are kind of taking a bunch of visits and stuff. There's still good ones out there, but I think if you're Malik Murphy, you're not really wanting to go into a situation where you have to compete for the job, and I think that's kind of a bunch of the spots you'd be looking at. That's kind of the situation. So I think to have kind of a guaranteed starting opportunity at Oregon State, a team that wanted him a year ago, that believes in what he can do. I think I think he can end up being a pretty underrated get for Oregon State, but that is how the process plays out sometimes.
So Max, have you been marveling at Texas Tech, surprised by Texas Tech? Just I would imagine they alone are keeping you busy enough with all of the moves they've made. The number one portal class thus far. What do you think of Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders Hall?
Marveling, absolutely. They're going for it. I mean, when you say shoving all in, I think that it's very clear that Cody Campbell and James Blanchard and those guys are they've got a plan and they are executing it, and they want to have the best portal class in the country, and so they are going after some big time players. And I think especially now that we're kind of heading into revenue sharing, and these are just pretty straight up contract negotiations. I think like if you can get these guys on campus and you want to make them an offer that they can't refuse, so that they're not going to go take more visits and stretch this thing out. And so to go get Lee Hunter from UCF, to get Howard Sampson from North Carolina, those are really premium players in the portal. Romello Height, the offensive tackle I took from Illinois State. Like these are all guys that I have in my top 50, best transfers in this cycle. And I think the receiver Virgil from Miami, Ohio, is one of the better ones out there too. So like they are getting, they're stacking real players now. And I think the running back from USC, Quentin Joyner, is a good addition to replace Taj Brooks. I think you certainly are seeing that this is it's a pretty impressive move. It's a real spending spree, and I think they certainly are setting the expectation here that it's going to be Big 12 title or bust next season.
It's like at a poker table, and when you see the guys take their huge, massive chunks of chips and they just put it all in the middle, and obviously the expectations go up too. How much, if at all, depending on what eventually is the answer here, does the junior college decision on Pavia affect the transfer portal and recruiting, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that was super interesting to see that Diego Pavia looks like he's going to get his eligibility extended at Vanderbilt. That'll probably still get challenged, and so we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, it puts Vanderbilt in a tough spot because they'd probably love to be recruiting a replacement for him if he's not going to be back next year. But they're rolling with sticking with Diego Pavia. Certainly the ruling that he got yesterday is just for Diego Pavia. It does not cover every college football player who has ever spent time at the junior college level. But certainly you're talking about a thing that, and the NCAA really expressed its disappointment at this ruling yesterday, because I don't think that I think their view is that member schools do not want a situation where you've got guys who are in college for 7 years basically, and I think that's what you'd be able to kind of extend here if you're sort of giving those years back to players that have spent time in junior college. Now, obviously, the rise of the portal has meant that fewer players have to make that stop at junior college. That is more of either you just didn't get recruited or you have an academic issue or something like that. But so like how many players does it affect? Maybe not as much as it would have a decade ago, but if this were to get extended to other players who've spent time at junior college levels, then guys, even though we're getting past the COVID years, you're talking about more 6th year, 7th year guys still kind of hanging around in the sport.
Where do you think Fernando Mendoza winds up?
It's a really good question, and I would have told you, I would have given you a pretty definitive answer a week ago. I thought when he went in the portal, I thought it was going to be Indiana, and that would be, he was going to go be the successor to Curtis Rourke for Curt Cignetti, and another veteran quarterback who's extremely talented and could just step right in there and be on a team that they've got to rebuild again through the portal, but they certainly want to stay competitive in the Big Ten. And so he took the visit to Indiana, did not commit there, did not sign there, and continued the process. And so I'm very curious to see what the move is here. I think you've still got some teams out there. Certainly, I think a lot of people are wondering what is North Carolina doing under Bill Belichick and like kind of what's their plan at quarterback. You've got a few, Power 4 schools out there like Missouri who are still looking for a starter. You've got Georgia's an interesting situation too, because Carson Beck suffered the injury. We'll see if he can come back for this playoff. But they're going to find out in the short term what they have in Gunnar Stockton. And, is Carson Beck going to go pro? Is he going to transfer? Is he going to stay? Like, they're in a tough spot right now and certainly don't want to scare off Gunnar Stockton. So, don't know if Georgia's going to go after a big-time guy here or just try to take a backup.
So, am I to read in what they think of Jaden Rashada already?
I think so. I think, at least that, Jaden Rashada is still young, and if he stays in that program, he'll keep developing and improving. But I think at this point in time, Gunnar Stockton has a pretty significant advantage over Jaden Rashada. When Carson Beck gets knocked out of the SEC title game, there's no question it was going to be Gunnar Stockton that goes in. And if Georgia goes status quo for next year, then no question Gunnar Stockton will be the starter. I think they feel like he can definitely be the guy. But it's Kirby Smart and they're chasing the national championship right now, and we'll see how this run goes. But you in the back of your head, you're always wondering, is there a guy out there who's a massive upgrade, and do you need to consider it? That and the uncertainty around Beck's plan, creates a lot of confusion on the Georgia situation there.
A few days ago I was thinking this wasn't the most star-packed portal, and now we're reeling off a dozen quarterback names that are all very interesting. And I have a question about another one. So this has turned out to be a pretty fireworks-laden portal, but what do you think of the move by Deion Sanders in Colorado to bring in Caden Salter?
Yeah, I think that is it's a great move. I think that Colorado, even though I'm sure Julian Lewis to flip Julian Lewis, who's ESPN's number 2 ranked quarterback recruit for 2025, to be able to pull off that flip, get him away from USC. Not easy to do. I'm sure it's expensive and all that, but they're not just going to promise the starting job to a true freshman. I think that they're certainly looking at the portal, and they wanted to go find somebody who can make them better. And so I think Caden Salter comes in as a guy who's extremely motivated. Certainly Liberty had a great year in 2023. Did not have the year people kind of expected this year, going 8-3, when it seemed like they had a pretty easy schedule and a chance to be in the playoff hunt. But I think he needs a fresh start. And I think that I'd be very interested to see kind of how Colorado adjusts their offense around him and what he can bring to the table. Cause he is, you look at starters last few years, only Bryson Daly has more rushing yards than Caden Salter over the last 2 years. So, how Colorado evolves the offense around him, if he's going to be the starter, I think is going to be fun to watch. And certainly you really like the young wideouts that Colorado has coming back. So, I think that's a big get for Colorado, and to combine him with Jaheim Otis, who is our number 1 ranked defensive player in the portal, the defensive tackle from Alabama. Colorado is going to add a lot of pieces, but those are 2 pretty big ones that you can point to and say, wow, they're doing it again.
Max, the college football playoff goes to an historical level tomorrow because of the 12 teams in Indiana, Notre Dame, among others. Texas hosting SMU up at Happy Valley. You have a bracket. Did you fill one out?
Is that starting tomorrow? Oh, no.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, by the way, there's other
things. Oh, no.
This
is the first time hearing of this.
Yes, there's a lot going on, my man. And believe me, at times I got to go, oh, damn, there's a game. I just had a guy send me my link for me to pick in a group that I'm in. And, yes, there are games starting tomorrow.
Wow. All right, I'm sorry. Go back to your question.
So what do you see? How are you going to see that? How do you see this
Did you
thing
fill
playing
out a bracket?
Yeah.
I have not filled out. When they first announced the bracket, we had to fill out brackets on ESPN.com, and I believe I had Oregon over Georgia. Now, obviously, Georgia is the wild card kind of right now at the quarterback situation. I've seen a lot of people putting Notre Dame in the national championship. Do you guys buy that?
No.
I wouldn't put it past Indiana to give them a game. I definitely say that. Indiana's been off for quite a while, and so is Notre Dame, and it's going to be pretty cool to kind of see those 2 teams to bring in their best, and Notre Dame being challenged by a really tough opponent here. But I don't think it's like impossible that the Hoosiers could pull an upset there. So I think it's going to be a fun weekend. And I think certainly on Saturday, you'd have to say that people are going to be watching because of the pressure that is on Ryan Day and the pressure that's on James Franklin and certainly the pressure that's on Steve Sarkisian in Texas, a team that has national championship ambitions. So to have this extra round and have these home games, I think it's going to be fantastic to watch. It'll be a little bit different. But this is certainly one of those weekends you kind of look forward to when they start talking about this model.
Yep, to sit down and watch it, enjoy it. Thank you for your time, Max. Appreciate it. Good luck trying to follow the crazy of the transfer portal. That's Max Olson, ESPN, with us on 365 Sports.